Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews bringing you the first review recall of the new year. This one will be tackling albums from January and also a little bit of extra cleanup. I didn't feel like there was that many albums that released this year, so I kind of just added in a little bit extra. Plus I took in a suggestion as well as a thing here for the review recall, so make sure to hit that like and also the subscribe button, and let's get underway. So this is really just a compilation EP of various covers from Georgian artists meant to support the election in Georgia, and it's fine. There's really no problem with it at all on a sonic level. All the songs here sound pretty good, and Ben Gibbard's voice is nice and soothing, especially on the slower cuts. It's fine. It's fine. I've been aware of Jack Harlow now for quite a while. I got requested back in 2018 to review his mixtape Loose, and I still really enjoy his quirky brand of rap music. I feel like this album in particular does take a while to fully get going, but I did find myself enjoying this quite a bit. So this one was actually a request I got, and since it was so recent, I figured I'd just stick it on here to clear space in my actual queue. And this band comes straight out of that same Scandinavian rock scene that a few of my favorite albums of last year also came from, with this being kind of a conjoining of three members from three different bands. And much like most of the albums in this same vein, this is pretty damn great. It's got some nice hooks, feels very nostalgic, energized. The metal flavorings here are great, but I especially love the closing few songs. They're cinematic, lively, really makes you feel like you've traveled this musical journey, and it's pretty stellar. Great album. Thanks for the recommendation. I've said this on multiple occasions, and I will say it again, Rich the Kid has been one of the heaviest guilty pleasures for me in rap today. And this EP of his is pretty solid. It's definitely my least favorite overall project he's done. A lot of it just feels a bit more generic to me. He doesn't really demonstrate his effortless flow here. Plus, some of the beats he uses are also kind of basic. I mean, it's alright. I'm not going to be running back to this one, though. I mean, the first half of this album is light years better than the other half, but I mean, a yeehaw is still a yeehaw. I don't think Lil Skies, in the three projects I've heard him in, has put out a bad album, EP, mixtape, whatever. Something about the emotional, hard-hitting, kind of emo-inspired rap style of his first two really enticed me, and while this new album here definitely feels a bit more braggadocious, swaggerish, I would even say a little bit distilled, in the end it just feels like a solid return, and I'm always happy to get more Skies. Good album. Yeah, it's really just a short EP full of some EDM, house, dubstep-ish songs. It's nothing spectacular, although that Cutting Crew sample was quite the surprise. I am always so damn happy whenever Chris drops a new album. I've been following him for a good couple of years now, ever since the first Wednesday album, and it immediately gripped me from the first intro, Raw Thoughts, and just how open and free it felt. I've been on the train ever since, and this is really just more of the same, but it is so damn satisfying and enjoyable. Each track stands out in its own unique way. There's several different vibes, styles, even genres across the 20 tracks here. This is a really good album. Please go listen to some Chris Webby. Go support this guy. He deserves it. As much as that album cover paints this to be this wallowing, despair-filled singer-songwriter record, I was pretty surprised at how hopeful and grateful this album was, even with the lyrical topic about being newly single, and dealing with the hammer that is breakup. It's also a very relatable album with these simple, down-on-your-luck sorrows that are also just so accessible. And in a year like the last one, I doubt this will upset many people. This is a nice album. I was a fairly big fan of Hollywood Undead back in the day. Kinda fell off with the group's music, but I found out in 2020 that they actually released 2 albums in this New Empire series. And the group really hasn't budged an inch at all. They're still doing the same old shtick. It's nothing that'll wow you if you're a fan, and this album definitely won't convert you if you're not. I will say, though, the Tech 9 feature on Idol was definitely an album standout. I really like that one, but aside from that, it's just whatever. You know, this feels very traditional. It feels very rustic, yet also very pleasant. I'll admit that one artist I wasn't expecting to be inspired and motivated by the lockdown to release more music would be Paul McCartney, but I'm kind of happy he did. He sounds playful on this album in some parts, and I really enjoy it. You ever have that guilty pleasure band from when you were younger that you still do admittedly enjoy, but then when searching for other music you hear a band doing something very similar, if not identical things to that band, and you start to fall in love with this new band in the exact same way? Point is, yeah, I fell head over heels for this album. New one from the Dirty Nil, Canadian rock band, and I was incredibly impressed with this record. It feels extremely loud, aggressive, it punches you in the face with these guitars, calling back to 80s thrash, classic rock, but it's also all built around a pop formula, catchy, relatable songwriting. Honestly, I would have loved this so much more if we were dead in the center of the pandemic, but I still found myself jamming with a solid handful of tracks here. This is fantastic. Check it out. You know, I'll be frank here, I had never heard of Jazmine Sullivan prior to this album. This was just popping up on my feed of all the other YouTube critics covering it, so my morbid curiosity kicked in and I checked this out and, I mean, what have I been missing all these years? I absolutely adore this concept with each of these spoken story-like interludes, each subsequently followed by a song to match, dealing with topics such as feminism, body shaming, sexuality, and these songs just hit, whether it be lyrically or just straight up bangers. Now I understand where all the critical acclaim comes from. Don't sleep on this. Check it out. It's really bittersweet to hear that Ubiquitous Synergy Seeker aren't going to be continuing after this record. This is their final one, their swan song, and frankly, it's another really good record from them. There's not a flop in their catalog in my opinion, and they definitely don't disappoint here. They do throw a lot at the wall. Here, it's punchy, entertaining, it's a damn good time of a record regardless. Do not sleep on this band, give their discography a run through, you will find a goldmine. This album is no exception. I heard a lot of decent things going into this album, and for the most part I was pretty impressed. A lot of melodies here, but a decent amount of aggression and lyrical depth to make it a bit more than just a regular trap rap album. Of course, like most albums in this genre, you're going to come across a bunch of filler and tracks that start to sound extremely samey, but this definitely surpassed my expectations. So apparently this one was done in lockdown, and in my honest opinion, this might just be one of the best things Weezer has done in like the past 6 years. There's a lot of orchestral, classical influences, really adding to the vastness of the stylings of Weezer's catalog. They've still got a few tricks up their sleeves, and this album demonstrated that in spades with previously mentioned influences, yet also analog-based recording. It's pretty damn great. Let's hope this isn't a one-time thing like most of the later Weezer albums tend to be in. I'm hoping Van Weezer will be just as good. I don't know, I've never really been a big fan of Devin Dawson's music that much, but this EP isn't that bad. It's certainly varied in its genres, leaning into pure pop crossover on one track, taking from R&B and trap on the other, and then diving full back into country. It's got some good energy coursing through it all the way throughout this track list. This is quite an enjoyable little EP. I was impressed. So yeah, a little bit of a shorter review recall this time, but there weren't really that many whole releases in January. I'm hoping February might be a little bit more packed. I might have to dive a little bit deeper, maybe into some obscure stuff and go searching again. But hey, if you enjoyed this, again, make sure to like and subscribe. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.